Hello, I'm Jamila Davey. I am one of the co-leaders of Green for the Greater Good. I'm a resident of the 5th District. I'm a gardener, also a teacher in the community, and I'm excited to talk to you today about community gardening. And thank you so much for inviting us and for the opportunity. And can we go to the next slide, please? You had there, a garden plot at peak season. And here you have a group of residents meeting. This is one of the early meetings of Green for the Greater Good. We are a community group made up of gardeners, residents, and stakeholders from around the Rodney Reservoir that first came together in May of 2022 when we learned that the Rodney Reservoir was under threat, that the city of Wilmington had asked for money from the bond bill to demolish water infrastructure at the site with a vision of privatization and development. And we started that time meeting and still meet to this day every Saturday with the goal of keeping the site public, safe, and green and creating a future where everyone can enjoy its use. And that vision gets bigger and bigger as we go on. Let's go to the next slide, please. And so what is community gardening? There's a bunch of terms you may have heard, like, there's home gardens, there's botanical gardens, there's urban farming. Well, what is community garden? Community gardens are local, they are resident-driven spaces, and they are green. They're places where individuals or families or friends, are allocated like individual plots where they can grow food to eat, and cook, and share, and give away. And it's a place where relationships are built. People share their knowledge of gardening. People, labor beside one another and make decisions together. Community gardens expand access to food. One of the big things about the Rodney Reservoir Garden that people loved was access to a place to garden. So many of us in dense Wilmington don't really have backyards to speak of, let alone those that have adequate sun to grow a tomato, for example. So, in many of our neighborhoods, we have lack of access to fresh vegetables. Many, vegetables are really expensive, and that's not changing anytime soon. It's really wonderful way to expand access. And then they're resident-led. People make decisions about stewardship. People make decisions about all kinds of issues in the garden, and it's what creates that sense of community. Having a shared sense of purpose about cultivating the space together is beneficial. Next slide, please. So getting a little bit deeper into the impacts of gardening and what the benefits are. So, and this idea of food access. So the Rodney Reservoir Garden had a number of initiatives to give away food over the years, but this is one of my personal favorite, the free farm stand idea, where we would collect all the extra vegetables in the garden, flyer all our neighbors, put out our little chalkboard, and set up a series of nights where we would give away all the extra vegetables in the garden. And we had some plots dedicated to community production for this purpose. And then we invited everyone in to, take home some vegetables, to explore the space, and just spend time together. And it was really fun. We had cookout one time, and, they call these spaces also sometimes third spaces, an additional space to like your home and work, where you can meet and get to know people in your neighborhood you wouldn't normally get to meet. So this is something we'd really love to expand, and it's something we look forward to getting back to really soon. Next slide, please. Another major impact is outdoor education. And there have been, I'm going to speak to one example, but there were earlier examples, and I think some of our community members will comment to this tonight. But in the fall of 2022, one of our neighbors, who was a teacher, helped us connect with Lewis Dual Language Elementary, who was looking for somewhere to do their school gardening program with Healthy Foods for Healthy Kids, and they couldn't find any place. So he helped us cross that bridge and bring them up to the garden. And so, boom, we had 450 new gardeners enjoying the space with us. And this was really eye-opening and really fed our fire for thinking about what this space could be in the future in terms of an outdoor classroom and how many more people it could serve. And so that, really kept us going. Next slide, please. And so, so community gardens really they provide a basis for more neighborhood initiatives. And the Rodney Reservoir Community Garden is a case study in this act. So, the history of the Rodney Reservoir is that it had this, amazing history as a site of public recreation from the late 19th century until 2003 when it was fenced off. And then after 2010, a group of neighbors, led by one and only Councilmember Willauer there, who maybe she'll speak more to this, sought somewhere to garden on the west side, and they narrowed it down to the Rodney Reservoir was the only place they could garden, and they eventually got approval from the city of Wilmington to do so. So you see the picture of all the people up there. That's all the neighbors, partners, public allies who came together to design and build the original community garden there at the Rodney Reservoir. Down in the middle, you see Dirt Day. A lot of urban gardens have soil issues, so at the Rodney, like in many places, we did raised bed gardening, so we had to bring in the soil, and you see a Dirt Day. So every year, that year and every year thereafter, the gardeners and their friends carried the soil up, refreshed the soil, and these are some of the activities we get involved in. It was also the home of the first urban apiary in Wilmington. And then in terms of as a foundation for community transformation, this group that called itself Westside Grows finished up building the garden, which grew to be the most successful, the largest community garden in Wilmington. They asked what they could do next. And that's when Westside Grows together as a comprehensive community development strategy was born. And folks started getting around to doing a West Side plan to revitalize their neighborhood more comprehensively. And then, other initiatives like Bright Spot Ventures developed its youth agriculture program, and the Cool Spring Farmers Market was born. All kinds of initiatives came out of this, the vision of those neighbors and the relationships they built. Next slide, please. And so, fast forward back to we're closer to now, community design is another thing that came out of the Rodney Reservoir Community Garden. Again, as we saw our site in peril, we also saw an opportunity to activate more of the site. And so we partnered, Green for the Greater Good partnered with the University of Delaware, both the Bachelor of Landscape Architecture and the Biden School of Public Policy, to do community design and to give our community a chance to imagine possibilities for the site and to learn about the benefits of greening. So over a series of 3 events at St. Francis Hospital, we did just that, and the community came up with an amazing vision for a community and nature-focused park that would serve us all as green infrastructure, with the trees and the wildlife habitat and the rain gardens, but also be an outdoor classroom for students of all ages, and also to provide urban people access to nature and a place to engage in stewardship and develop that relationship to nature. Next slide, please. And the next summer, 2024, we kept going with community design with the University of Delaware, this time focused on the community garden. We wanted to pull more people into the garden space and to imagine how we could expand on those benefits, especially around the issue of food justice and giving food away, and also that idea of citizen science and as an outdoor classroom. And we had, tons of community engagement. A lot of partners got involved, helped us imagine how we could activate this site, and we went on a really fun field trip to Baltimore. That's what one of those pictures is from, to see inspirational sites and bring ideas back. We still want to go to a Philly field trip. Hopefully we'll still get to do that. And the recommendations that came out of this helped shape the design of the community garden that's slated to be built. Next slide, please. So this is an image from our park that's being built up there at the Rodney Reservoir, our nature and community focused park. And, this park, will have, it is the culmination of the relationships and vision that this group of gardeners has cultivated and the many friends that have supported it. It's going to have over 300 native trees, over an acre of native meadow, many outdoor classrooms, stormwater infrastructure, all of this. Of course, it was born out of that, and of course, many partners, including the city of Wilmington, who we thank vigorously for, getting on board, buying into the vision, and committing to it so fully, and of course, Hinge Collective, that worked with us so closely to bring it about. But so this is the statements there. We really feel that care for our community. So it's the relationships, vision, and care for our neighborhood that can bring about these kinds of transformative initiatives. Next slide, please. So, we can recap some of the benefits here. So the, research shows that Grassroots leadership and community stewardship are the keys to success to community gardens over time in terms of both the social goals and the ecological ones. Again, that shared sense of responsibility gives people a sense of purpose, creates those bonds, and is how community gardens, build civic infrastructure and community cohesion. And as far as building community goes, these spaces are continuations of our neighborhoods. The relationships we have in our neighborhoods continue up there. And it's not just at the garden, it's on the way to the garden. Everyone you see and you talk to when you're going to get your vegetables for your dinner. And research shows that civic engagement increases near community gardens. And so it goes to show it's very clear then that we need citywide access to community gardens. Every neighborhood deserves this kind of space to build relationships, to grow food, and to build that civic infrastructure, and to have access to fresh local vegetables, and just to be in nature, for exercise, to get a break from the concrete jungle, for all those reasons. Next slide, please. So, this is a shot of the community garden. It's got the plant plugs for the rest of the site in it right now, but this is where the community garden will go, where it used to be. And we are, the park is slated to open at the end of the summer, and we are, really hopeful that we're going to be able to return to a gardener and resident-driven program, gardening program at the site. Next slide. And how you can help us. Here's some of our great friends around the city and the state here. First of all, please, become a champion for community gardens. Uplift the work of community gardeners everywhere. Share your knowledge about how community gardens benefit our communities and strengthen our neighborhoods. Expand community gardening in your district and around the city. If there are open spaces that have, that sunshine and are viable for a community garden, we ask you to support it. There's community support and interest for it, we encourage you to support that. And then we also, we ask for your support with the Rodney Reservoir Community Garden and advocating for resident-led models with the City of Wilmington. And that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. At this time, before I ask my questions, I will open it up to members of the committee to ask any questions first.
I just want to thank the gardeners, the neighbors who put so much time and effort into Green for the Greater Good, into neighborhood organizing efforts, and the City of Wilmington for working with the neighbors on this project, because the park that's coming about at the Rodney Reservoir is just really beautiful. We see it just transforming every day. So I know that that's been the product of a lot of hard work on the part of a lot of people in this room. So I just want to thank you, and also thank the City of Wilmington for developing this relationship with residents to make that happen. And I do agree that community gardening is a great foundation for a lot of positive things at the neighborhood level. So I just want to thank you for coming out tonight and putting together that presentation. It was really, really awesome presentation. And I want to thank everybody else who came out tonight. I'm looking forward to hearing from the other neighbors. Thank you.
Does any other council members have questions? If not, I do. First off, I just want to say thank you so much for making time and coming and join this committee tonight, and everyone who came with you as well, too. I 100% agree that community gardening is a great benefit to the community. But I do have some questions, and I know we've talked about some of them as well, too. For the educational component of it, right? How have you been able to connect people from the community with experts that understand the different aspects, whether it's, what is it called? Not invasive species, when it's the opposite. What's the opposite of it?
You talking about weeds?
But also be able to teach the community how to properly grow and what is beneficial to the area that we live in.
So, yeah, so that's a big question. So, one of the things that's beautiful about it, and is that, people bring knowledge. There is point-to-point education happening between neighbors quite organically. Some people have varying levels of skills and expertise, and you can get advice right there in the garden. And going forward, that is one of the things that we've talked about wanting to expand going forward. There is and we talked about it a lot at our design sessions this summer. We brought in Katie Pollock, who runs the UD Lab School and works with kids out in nature. And we had a lot of people with a variety of levels of expertise. We've been in contact. We've been cultivating a lot of partner conversations as well. And that's one of the things we really wanted the opportunity to do going forward, is to catalyze those kinds of opportunities that we have. We can use the outdoor, there's several outdoor classroom spaces, but there's a community garden outdoor classroom in particular where we'd love to get some workshops going, to facilitate, school gardening programs and also different kinds of workshops around these different topics. So, we have, there's usually community commitments about certain things that aren't appropriate to grow in your garden, but otherwise people exercise choice. So there are a few invasive things, but we are in raised beds, so things are contained. People exercise free choice, and we do. Yeah, so I think
Okay. And my next question is there a cost associated with this, especially when it comes to the water aspect of it and making sure that you're able to nourish the plants?
So in the past, when Westside Grows administered the garden, it was a nominal fee of about around $30 a year for your plot. So, and the city of Wilmington has said, I don't know what that's going to be. There has been talk of wanting to keep it free. But I know there's something that, I know that gardeners and folks would be willing to fundraise to make it happen so that there are no barriers, there's no financial barrier to participating. And we've also, another thing we talked a lot about at the community design work is how we can cultivate more models of gardening, so that there can be more communal beds for people who aren't ready to commit to a bed but want to learn to garden. And so to have some beds that are always, dedicated to community production, and for some of these really cool projects that are going on that feed the community through the fridges and other mutual aid programs, like how we can build that up. That's something there was a lot of aspirations around. And also we're drifting into the vision stage, but an outdoor kitchen, people really love the idea of, and I don't know what the city of Wilmington feels about that, but people were really excited about that as an educational opportunity for art, for nutrition, and for, cultural heritage sharing and so many things. People really love that idea, and we've seen it in examples around the country and the world. So that's another thing. I'm veering off from the cost to the benefit to the mutual aid.
That went into my next question about I've sat in on a lot of conversations these last 5 months with organizations that have community fridges, organizations that are looking to do a fresh vegetable, fresh fruit to the community, whether it's farmer market style or whatsoever. And it seems to be a issue with trying to find, where they're going to get enough supply from. So this could be a small opportunity, a step in the right direction, and helping with some of that as well too. But then hopefully encouraging more gardens to pop up across the city. And we have the space in our parks and everything. And I think this would be a great initiative to partner with our Parks and Rec going forward in the future as not only educational, but health-wise as well too. It's beneficial.
I mean, that was something we definitely thought of. We've kicked the idea around. We've had tons of conversations. Again, we meet every Saturday. So, we talk about so many ideas. But the idea of being a hub that shares knowledge and experience. And we have this whole idea of phase 2. I won't get too deep into it, but there's that communication tower up there. There's a bunch of space that we dreamed about for a hoop house and, more beds and more citizen science. That's something we really want to do to complement the whole site, which is itself a whole outdoor classroom, 3.67 acres, 3.68 acres. So, yes, indeed. It's it's a step in the direction, and may it be a seed that travels and creates more gardens.
Well, I definitely look forward to working with you on that. I know my vice chair, Councilwoman Will Haller, will definitely keep us all updated about how it's going over in your district. But at this time, I will open it up to the public. If there's any questions or comments that the public would like to make, please come to the podium, announce your name, and you have 3 minutes.